Hi, my name is Spencer Quinn, and here with me today is Chris, and we represent Team FiberFix. We're excited to be able to present to you today, and we want to tell you a little bit about how FiberFix came to be. Now, it all started actually while we were working for another company that manufactures tape, and while we were working for this company, we heard a story about a doctor. The doctor was traveling on his ATV during a hunting trip, and his ATV broke down. But he was able to use a casting tape that he carried in his personal first aid kit to repair his ATV and finish the trip. Now, when we heard this story, the light bulb kind of went on in our minds. We thought there may potentially be a need for a rigid repair, but we wanted to validate this. So we also thought that casting tape could potentially be used to fix not only broken bones, but everything from a broken radiator hose to emergency leak repair, or even broken tool handles. And what we sought out to validate was, or our initial assumption was, homeowners were looking for a quick and simple permanent repair solution. And we sought out to validate this. And the way we validated it was we went out and talked with over 50 different store owners, trying to get a feel for what types of products were out there in the market that address this customer pain, as well. I'm sorry about this. Lost my slide. Okay. We also talked with over 100 different potential customers to validate exactly what the pain was. And when we were talking with these customers, they told us a lot of interesting things. One customer told us that when they had an emergency leak repair in their home, they had to hire someone to come and make a $180 repair weld in their home, only to find out that 3 weeks later that weld was going to break, and they'd be left without a repair solution. So we also had made the assumption that casting tape would be the solution. The way we validated this was we got some samples of casting tape, and we tried to repair a number of things that commonly break around your home, everything from tools to furniture, leaky pipes, but unfortunately we found that casting tape was not going to be the solution. And I need to emphasize this point with you all today. Casting tape is designed to be lightweight, rigid, porous, and provide a temporary support. But based off the situation and the pain that was experienced by these customers, represented here in these examples, the job to be done, the product that a customer would be willing to hire to solve this problem needed to be watertight, rigid, bond any type of surface, and needed to provide a permanent repair.
Okay, great. So with these customer pains in mind, the needs of our customers.
Closer to your mouth.
Okay, thank you. We realized very quickly that we would need to do a lot of research and development with our current factory. So we started going through a series of prototypes. We actually have a few of those here with us today, Derek, if you'd like to run those over there. Started going through multiple prototypes and iterations of this product, trying to get a product that would be able to be watertight and address the needs of our consumer. And finally, in there, the dark one on the far end, we arrived at our minimum viable product that we now refer to as FiberFix. And while we were going through this process, we kept in touch with our initial customer base or potential customers that we had identified, and we discovered even more pain that we could address with this type of a product. We discovered that there were people that were working in industry, such as utilities. We discovered that in utilities, every time that they had a bend or a crack in a conduit pipe, they had to go out to a hardware store, pay $90 for a sleeve, and then spend an hour or however long it took to get that sleeve on that conduit and fully make the repair. We talked with Cherry Hill Farms. It's one of the largest fruit farms in the U.S. They told us that every year they were spending $20,000 just trying to maintain their irrigation lines with all the labor that was associated there. So we discovered and found that there were more pains that we could address with a product like casting tape. We sent some samples very quickly to the farm, and we got some great feedback. We'd sent those samples with two main assumptions. We had assumed that our product, FiberFix, would hold up to the high pressures on industrial equipment and irrigation lines. And unfortunately, it was a shock for us. We discovered that our product would fail on high-pressure lines. And this indicated for us that we really needed to pivot. Luckily, we were able to find a very low-cost and easy solution. We just had to swap out our cloth to a tighter knit. And by doing so, we were able to move from about 60 psi of a pressure rating to a pressure rating in excess of 150 psi. We also discovered, as they tried to apply it on their farm equipment, that there was another issue. We'd assumed that it would hold up to vibrational shocks. Unfortunately, as they put it on industrial-grade equipment, those shocks caused the glue in our product to crack and slide off the surface. It was a big issue. And so this was a little trickier. We actually had to go over to China, find suppliers of resins, and ultimately we were able to find a military-grade resin that was very shock-resistant, and this allowed us to solve our problem and to pivot once again. Also, something that was really cool is we had Alcoa contact us out of the blue. They stumbled across our website. They're a $27 billion company in the oil industry, and they wanted product samples. And so very quickly, we were excited. We got it out the door. And within about 2 weeks, we were contacted by Fastenal, who's their hardware provider, and they set us up as a vendor. So we've received some reorders. They've requested more and more samples. They've actually paid for them this time off of our website, and we're excited about the future with Alcoa. So we flipped back very quickly to the business model canvas. We identified our learnings from industry. Up to this point, by going through the R&D process, we'd identified key suppliers of our resin, of our cloth. We'd also developed very key and important partnerships. We partnered with Reed Quinn. He has an expertise in overseas manufacturing. He's been doing that for more than a decade. And his experience has been vital as we've worked with our factory. And also Eric Childs, who helped us with the next phase of our business, which was sales. So to this point, we had a product that adequately addressed our customer needs. We wanted to validate and find channels through which we could sell our product. The first sales channel we assumed that we could sell through was online sales. This was a great option for us because Spencer here is actually a self-made web designer. So he was able to create a site for us very cost-effectively, very cheap. And by generating these sales, we were able to validate this sales channel and generate over $20,000 in sales as of October. We also assumed that another great way for us to validate and to get our product out in the market was through trade shows. So trade shows were great because we were able to interact face-to-face with customers. And as we began to attend very low-cost shows and ramp up to larger shows, we found that we could turn a profit. And to date, we've generated more than 3,000 face-to-face contacts. Through trade shows, through our website, we began to receive some great feedback. So we'd like to read a few quotes from customers that we've received. So Wendy was excited about FiberFix because it was a quick, inexpensive fix for her plumbing leak. Thank you. Debbie was very excited because FiberFix is very easy to use. Her 14-year-old daughter was able to perform a repair all by herself. And we all like Barry, so I'd like to read this quote. Barry said, "Once FiberFix is in your toolbox, you come up with all kinds of uses for it. It's a great product and should be in everyone's toolbox. I hope you make a couple million bucks on it." So we all echo Barry's hopes. So another great thing that came out of our event strategy is we were able to nail down a price point. Our customers had told us that they would pay as long as the cost of FiberFix was less than the cost of item replacement, they would pay for it. So we'd assume that $10 would be about our ideal price point. Now, as we went to events, we experimented with the price testing. We wanted to know what would happen if we lowered or raised our price, and very quickly we discovered that if we would lower our price to an average of $8 per roll, we would sell much higher volumes and therefore be more profitable with the extra volume of sales. So we were able to pivot in our sales strategy and to lower our price. And I'd just like to give you an idea of our cost structure as well. So we've changed our MSRP to $8 per roll. We wholesale our product at $4 a roll, and we have very low costs. It costs $1.20 for us to land a roll of FiberFix here in the United States. So we have very good margins, as well as some flexibility with our cost structure.
Okay, we also looked to validate some other different sales channels. So we made the assumption that FiberFix could potentially sell well in independent retail locations, such as Fastenal, Ace Hardware, True Value, Do It Best. And the way we validated this, we got an 18-piece display unit of our product, and we did a store test at a local Ace Hardware store. And after a successful Ace Hardware test, we actually received a letter from Ace Corporation inviting us to come to the National Ace Hardware Convention. And there we were able to sell to over 100 Ace Hardware stores nationwide. Shortly after the show, we were accepted into all 46 Sportsman's Warehouse locations. We also assumed that FiberFix could potentially sell well through mass retail channels. So we reached out to the few that we felt would be most applicable to FiberFix, such as QVC, Costco, and Home Depot. And this was validated when we received a PO from QVC for over $27,000 worth of FiberFix. In terms of the total addressable market, we feel that FiberFix is most applicable to the home improvement market, which is a $300 billion market. Now, based off the most applicable applications of FiberFix, we feel this boils down to $420 million total addressable market. Now, this is kind of a snapshot of where FiberFix is today. We've already generated over $80,000 in revenue. We've received feedback from our initial store tests, and we've had reorders from these stores. We've already received purchase orders from Ace Hardware, QVC, Fastenal, Sportsman's, True Value, and Sunrock. Now, these are just some of the vendor docs and insurance agreements with Costco and Home Depot. And based off the current sales data that we already have, we know that within 5 years, FiberFix is going to be able to reach $25 million within 5 years. Now, none of this would have been possible without the business model canvas, without the lean startup process. The whole idea of making assumptions, validating these assumptions, and pivoting based off our finding has led to the success of FiberFix. We know FiberFix is going to be successful. Being able to successfully identify the customer pain, link it to a solution, and then validate it through sales gives us confidence that we know FiberFix will be successful. We'd like to turn it over to the judges for questions at this time.
How hard would it be to copy?
So, your question is really important. How hard would it be to copy? We want to know about the barriers to entry here. We feel that we have put up a number of different barriers to entry. One is we have economies of scale. We've looked into patenting device. We already have 27 variations of a patent in place set to protect FiberFix. We already are positioned to become the brand leader. We feel we have the first mover advantage, and our costs are already dropping because we are increasing our volume.
There's no prior art? I mean, this is patentable?
It is patentable.
It is patentable, and along the way we've also been able to develop things that are additionally patentable. For example, we talked a little bit about how we swapped the cloth that we're using out. So when we approached this problem, there was a cloth out that had 14 stitches per inch, and that was the maximum. That's all that existed in terms of machinery to manufacture that. But with a little tweaking, we were able to come up with modifications to the machinery that would allow us to reach higher stitch counts and greater water pressure resistance. And so there are things that are definitely patentable.
As along with the resin as well. The resin was kind of the secret sauce for FiberFix, and trying to find the sub-supplier that would be able to make a resin that we could impregnate into the fiberglass wrap was a trick, and that's something that we were patenting as well.
So you had 3 customer segments. At one point I saw 2, and I think at the end I saw 3. But for me, it wasn't really clear, who are you really targeting? I mean, you had homeowners, you had industrial. Those are very different businesses. So how did you make your choice what you're really going to target and who you're really going to target, and which tests actually led to that? That's the first question I have.
Yeah, that's a great question. Being able to identify specifically which customer you want to target. To us, it was really important the job to be done. And what actually initially happened was we identified the job to be done that was felt by the homeowner, and we found that same job to be done also existed with industrial partners. So for us, it was more of identifying that there was an overlap with the job to be done and realizing that we could take a little bit more market share than we originally intended. And it worked great for being able to sell not only to homeowners but also industry.
Okay, second question. You said you did test pricing. You tested the price, but you didn't tell us how. So I'm curious, how deep did you go? How serious was that test?
So that testing was basically, literally we were standing at various trade shows we've attended, and we just fluctuated it. Oftentimes at these trade shows, we'd be there multiple days. You could just lower the price down and see how sales would come in throughout the day. Also, you would get feedback from customers saying that $10 is too much. We talked to store owners as well that told us that for an impulse item, that's pretty high. So we've received multiple levels of validation for that pricing, but the actual testing itself comes from changing the price at events and observing how sales come in.
Real sales, right?
Correct.
So
Yep.
People are buying.
And initially, too, just to talk a little bit more about that, we've developed 3 different widths of FiberFix. Based off the experience with customers, we realized based off the type of repair, a different width of tape will be needed. And so initially, we were selling every width of tape for the same price, for $10. But based off customer feedback, we've actually adjusted the price based off the width of tape that's being used for the repair.
Steve, did you have any questions for these guys?
Sure. Let me understand. This actually requires gloves and resin and stuff.
That's a great question. The product actually is essentially fiberglass material that has a pre-impregnated resin inside of it. So the resin is already there. You just get it wet, and you wrap around the item you're trying to fix. It does not necessarily require gloves. We highly recommend them. We include them in the box because it is kind of annoying to have flakes of glue on your hand for the next 2 days. So those are included. We recommend using them.
All right, but all it requires is water. Is that correct?
That's correct, or it'll actually cure over longer amounts of time with exposure to air moisture.
Great. And have you guys been selling this in the channel now?
We have.
What's the reorder rate?
So
both two parts, from the channel itself and then from end users? What do they look like?
Okay. So as we showed before, we're currently in over 100 ACE hardware stores. We initially started with 8 test stores. Of those 8 test stores, the sell-through data is they've been selling it a little more than 3 units a week, with our best store selling out in 2 weeks. 4 of those stores have since reordered. I talked with them before coming out here, and they're very excited because the product continues to sell. And we've also had several customers via our online sales who have got back from us via the emails that we showed earlier, who have reordered because they've enjoyed using the product so much.
And the neat thing about the individual customers too is after they make one successful repair with FiberFix, they feel like it is an essential part of their toolbox, and they want to have it there and ready for the next time they need to repair something. So we've had a number of customers repair multiple things in their home after making that one successful repair. So it's something they want to talk about with their friends and let other people know about through word of mouth as well. So.
Okay. All right.
So that last statement you made about it's something they want to have in their toolbox and they want to repair multiple things, how would you quantify that? Like, how do we know that how would you, kind of back that statement up?
I would back that statement up with emails that we've received, validation through sales from these people.
So how many? What percentage? You can see where I'm pushing you.
Yeah,
I'm trying to push you to what percentage? We're trying to get the sense of the scale and the amount.
Yeah. Well, I would ask, okay, let me talk about, are you talking about store owners and individual customer?
Let's talk about both. That sounds great.
Okay. Okay. So individual stores are going to be able to order on average every 2 months based off the sales data that we already have. So if they're going about 3.5 units per week, they have an 18 units display, it's going to be every 2 to 3 months we're going to get a reorder from a store. Individual customers, again, I just want to stress how important it is that the first experience they have with FiberFix needs to be successful. I brought up this slide right here just to kind of show you the distribution of what we've found from people, the types of applications they're doing. It's hard for me to say exactly how much because let's say if someone uses on plumbing, for sure, they're going to for sure use it on plumbing again if it's successful. And so what we've found, though, is if someone uses it to repair like a broken tool handle, they're very likely to find an application for something like that in their home. So.
I'd just like to add one thing. So as he stated before, we did attend the National ACE Show, and while there we took advantage of being in the presence of over 3,000 store owners. And while there we conducted a little more than 100 personal interviews with people who have made their careers out of selling items to consumers. The feedback was amazing. They all loved the price point that we had settled on, that we had validated through the events that we had gone to, and they said they can see many people that come through their stores using it.
So you would quantify it as 100 of 100, or I'm just trying to get the data.
It was very close to 100 out of 100.
And how many emails have you gotten from customers saying, I love this and I want to use it, for other things?
An exact number, I'd say over 100 emails.
I guess. Yeah, perfect. I just wanted to get a sense.
Yeah, we received over 100
it could be 100, So that's my questions. Were there any others? Very good job.
Hey.
Great work.
Thank you.